This is one of the most interesting works of fiction that I have read in the past couple of years. C. Lowry. This is one of those rare books that constantly entices you, desperately wanting to know what's going to happen next. If you're a fan of something akin to The Hunger Games or Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, this should fit right in between with a little extra philosophical meat on its bones. That's from C. Fletch. Reviews for a book known as The Reincarnationist Papers, a memoir of past lives, the account of Evan Michaels. These are the reviews for a book with so much potential that the author had a foreword saying anyone who got his book in front of a Hollywood executive to be adapted into a movie would receive a chunk of the final profits. With expectations so high, how could it fail? Well, we're here to talk to you about Mark Wahlberg's fantastic Paramount Plus feature, Infinite, and whether or not it lives up to its very long-named book counterpart.
Welcome to the Poppycock podcast.
I'm, of course, your host, Joel, joined by my co-hosts, Sam and Dan. Say hello to the listeners at home.
Guten Tag.
It's Woos.
We're not doing
I thought
that.
it was Wham.
So,
Wham.
for the listener at home, we currently have a wiener dog who just leapt up onto the surface that we're recording from. So the microphone is right next to his anus. So we're speaking into a dog's butt while it ignores us.
Hey, you don't always get to choose what your life is.
Don't sit on it, Miko.
You
Miko. Oh God.
You don't always get to choose what comes in your life, Sometimes you're, Mark Wahlberg. Sometimes you're
Dylan O'Brien.
Sometimes you're Jason Sudeikis or whatever.
No, Jason Sudeikis is not the same as Jason Mantzoukas.
Although I did, when you first were mouthing the, I thought you said Jason Sudeikis, and I was like, what? This is going to be good. And then it was Jason. And, he was good in it, but he was, not good, not as good as he could have been.
He was good in it. Well, there's nothing good in it, but,
Let's just get into it. This movie tried to be too crazy. It wasn't crazy enough for me to buy it as a sci-fi concept, and it wasn't grounded enough for me to buy it as a near future concept.
I feel like some of the action set pieces were good.
I do think some of the action was cool. So let me say why Mark Wahlberg wasn't the problem with this.
Okay.
Mark Wahlberg has been in movies I like. He's been in a lot of movies I don't like. He's been in movies I like.
Italian Job.
One of the movies he's been in that I like was directed by this director. So I know this director knows how to make me like Mark Wahlberg. There wasn't a single other actor aside from, I would argue, Chitwell Ejiofor, who plays the antagonist of the film.
Yeah.
There wasn't a single... Miko, you gotta stop hanging out like that. There wasn't a single person who had any ounce of personality in the movie. No one...
Yeah.
There were literally two blonde women in it who were total opposites of each other. I couldn't tell them apart, and one of them is an actress in a TV show I used to watch.
You really don't.
Miko, don't lick my face.
You really don't get the necessary character development to really appreciate these characters.
Miko.
Even though they're supposed to have all this
pillow.
history, especially with the whole concept of reincarnating be a big theme, the fact that so many of these extra characters fall flat is really upsetting.
Yeah, they should have been like Friends from Friends, season finale, where it's like, oh yeah, we've been through some stuff.
What's interesting is originally it was supposed to be a Chris Evans movie, but he was busy filming a Apple Plus series about his son being framed for murder. Or maybe he really did it. I never watched it. I was too busy watching Jason Momoa's See, a world where no one can see except for his kids, and the woman who played Love in Blade Runner 2049 finger bangs herself to pray. It's weird. But Dave Bautista is going to be in the next season, so I guess I need to watch it.
Somehow we got to something weirder than this movie, and I did not expect that to happen.
You're welcome. I'm here to deliver.
All right, look, I'm going to try and get us on track, which is not what I usually do.
No, it is not. It's the antithesis of your existence.
The movie starts off with what looks like a better movie.
Oh yeah. The start to this movie is great.
Yeah, just look up the start to the movie.
The chase scene, my only complaint, very clearly Dylan O'Brien in a Fast and Furious green screen car, and then a real stunt driver doing the cool stunts.
Which, of course, it's pretty much in his contract that he has to be in a chase scene if he's going to be in a movie.
Yeah, he's like, look, ever since Teen Wolf, I need to run, I need to drive, I need to be in a maze and running. I need to be in an American Assassin. He runs in that too. Michael Keaton movie. I would argue, a good movie as well.
Mhm.
Better than this.
Yes. I haven't seen it.
Taylor Kitsch is the bad guy in that.
Yep.
John Carter himself.
Oh.
/ the main actor in all of those Call of Duty Advanced Warfare trailers.
Although when they both started growing out a beard, it got hard to tell them apart.
No,
at
yeah, no,
times.
that was a costume design choice that should not have been made. But yeah, no, there wasn't an ounce of personality in the entire cast. The most personality we got was when Chitwell's reincarnated character shows up and insults a disabled character and is literally just like, why don't you kill yourself so you can come back not disabled? Like, if you'd killed yourself when you were 14 and got your memories back, you'd be like, oh, I wasn't always this way, and you could come back like a really strong or just average person. Like, I'm not in a wheelchair, personally, me, as a human, right now. It's just my voice, so you can't tell, but I'm not. I can walk, but I am in constant physical pain, and have been told by numerous doctors the only way it will be fixed is potentially with surgery, which may have negative side effects as well, because it's spinal and all these other things, so there's just no hope. My life will only get more painful. If I could shoot myself and wake up in a body that isn't ruined, like, it's not, like, that's just loading a new character. That's like, I'm restarting the game.
Except you have to go through puberty again.
Yeah, but I won't know that I've been through puberty again until I've hit puberty. They establish it's usually around 14, but because Mark Wahlberg had so much brain damage and was, like, electrocuted in a psych ward and stuff, which they haven't done since Mark Wahlberg would have been young enough to be
Joel,
in
you don't
one.
understand. This is the universe of Infinite.
Good point. Fair point.
Well, it's not, like...
They say that he was, like, electrocuted and on pills, and he has a metal plate in his head.
They use shock therapy.
They still use shock therapy?
Yeah, in some cases where it's, like, severe enough.
Like, in Texas, like, is that... Because, I mean, they'll zap mentally handicapped people. Like, they just, like,
yeah.
we'll do it.
It's done to a minor extent where it's like...
I mean, in Canada, you can choose to kill yourself, so the whole world's kind of a weird place.
I mean...
You can just...
It's weird.
Hey, how you doing? Here's some Tim Hortons coffee and a cyanide pill. Don't you know?
There's some...
They're very polite
I
about
would
it.
argue that that's, like, the second most character Chitwell has. First one would be when you see that he's basically waterboarding himself.
Yeah.
To try and... Because basically, he believed... He was raised like all the infinites.
Yeah, which, by the way,
are.
is not what they're called apparently in the book. They're called... Let me look it up. It's got a stupid cool name. Keep going.
Apex Wolves.
No, that's pretty cool though.
I was thinking of something.
No, that I do know that they serve an organization not called the Infinites, but the Cognomina.
That kind of sounds cool, actually.
It sounds pretty sick.
Yeah.
I'd be upset if the movie about my book didn't use that.
Yeah. Well.
Also, there's only 28 people that reincarnate in that. And also, the whole thing is like, oh yeah, we always find each other in all of our lives, and we're friends, and we try to like learn about each other and grow and prove that you really are reincarnated. And it's like a message of like, we've shaped history. We're like the League of Assassins. We have decided who was in power.
In the movie,
we're the Illuminati.
Well, in the movie, they're like, oh yeah, whatever higher power gave us this ability.
Yeah, they want us to guide humanity.
Yeah, and his like,
but
and he's like, I want to speak to the manager here. So he's like constantly trying to like penance himself or whatever and try and get in contact with whatever.
I have a sort of immediate flaw with the character. I don't want to fully cut you off, so if you want to keep going.
Well, because the whole reason he's like evil is because he has an eidetic memory, and whereas other people get their memories at age 14, he gets it in the womb as his brain's forming.
Yeah, causing him to go mad, essentially.
Yeah, and I side with him on that. He really should have digitized himself or something.
No, I do think in the movie they establish that there's a special bullet that when you're shot with it from a very silly looking Nerf shooter, it's a prop gun that looks... I've literally seen that toy at Walmart.
Yeah.
It's real dumb. It's a shotgun that's not a shotgun. I don't like it.
It's
a Nerf... I've been shot by that Nerf blaster. It fires like 6 bullets at once. It hurts at close. I've had welts from it.
Now can you reincarnate?
You make a good point.
Exactly.
I could have been Mark Wahlberg.
I think whoever shot you did you a favor.
I don't know. He's pretty jacked.
Point is,
my mind in that body.
If you're shot with it, your soul gets digitized.
Yeah.
And then...
So I want to get to the point before, because you brought up something that I forgot that made me mad. Not just the fact that the intro to the movie is a better movie than we got because it focuses on Dylan O'Brien fighting a war that seems cooler, much like the movie Bumblebee. Which, by the way, is getting a sequel where they're introducing the beast dinosaurs. They're completely erasing the Bayverse.
Dinobots?
Not just the Dinobots, like the whole like animal bots.
Oh.
Like Optimus Primal.
Oh, dang.
So we're not going to go down the rabbit hole. But so Chitwell's character, he is like, yeah, we were good buddies, but I keep reincarnating, and it's suffering for me, and I've become a mad person. I hate reincarnating over and over again.
Yeah.
It sucks a lot. I don't want to do that. He has a way to make sure he doesn't reincarnate by just having someone shoot him in the head.
Yeah, with a Nerf
He
blaster.
could shoot himself in the head.
He could. He absolutely could.
And then he can just live in like it's the future. They probably got a weird Matrix world he could live in with that.
That's the thing. I thought once you were digitized, it's like, oh, so you don't have a soul anymore, therefore you can never be, like, they're dead. But then, in the end, they blow up all of the memory chips, and the people who had been digitized reincarnate, implying that their souls had been digitized.
Yeah.
But your soul isn't in your brain, is it?
According to Infinite,
I thought it was in the
is.
bottom of my feet, because I need support for it. That's a foot joke.
People typically like to fetishize feet, not joke about them.
Well, I'm not. I'm, counterculture. But so he has a solution to his problems, and he's facing death the whole time, and he's making a choice for all of civilization, every dog, cat, goldfish, which, by the way, they hint a few times that maybe you could come back as an animal, like in many forms of, like, I believe it's Hinduism, isn't it, that you can come back as a different species?
His whole shtick is that he wants to wipe out all life.
So there's no chance that he can get stuck into a different body. Also, they never point out the fact, like, yeah, Mark Wahlberg was a fucking gorilla for a few years. I would have bought that 100%. Like, oh, he was a gorilla last time. That makes sense. He's an idiot. They don't ever touch on that topic, which would have been rad. Like, oh yeah, she used to be a parakeet, or she was an owl, so she's really in touch with nature. That's cool. That's Teen Wolf for the adults.
Question is, if you reincarnate into, like, a tortoise, do you think, like, man, I haven't seen Glenn in a long time?
That's a good point. Actually, speaking of which, we saw a turtle crossing the road the other day, and I almost stopped to get out and help cross it, but there was an angry redneck behind me, and he was definitely going to hit me if I tried to get out of the car. So I was just like, you know what? You and that hare are on your own. Plus, I don't want to interfere in an officially woodland-sanctioned race. That's a whole kerfuffle. But my problem is, they hint at the fact that he's seen the face of God, and he's waterboarding himself in gasoline in his sexy church.
Yeah.
So is he motivated because he's seen the face of God, or because he doesn't want to suffer? Those are two different origins. If he knows how to digitize his soul, why doesn't he just digitize his soul? Also, how does he have all of these people following his orders, none of which can reincarnate or want to reincarnate? They don't ever say that, like
how
Lucifer.
Do you sell him on the whole "let's destroy all life" thing?
Exactly. Like, he must be lying to them, but someone had to have built the machine.
Well, I think what he's doing is, like, he's like, we need the egg to end all life.
Not a good name, by the way. The Nexus. I pulled that out of my butt the first time they said egg. I was like, I would have called it the Nexus.
Yeah, well, here's the dumbest bit. They're like, oh, okay, let's destroy it. And it's like, okay, but wait, couldn't he build another one? I mean, they never say where he got the last one.
Yeah, did he build it, or did he have a scientist build it? Why would that scientist help him build it?
What's the point of the egg? Also, why does it have, like, whenever it's in, like, the aircraft carrier, one, he builds it.
It was the aircraft carrier setup from Tom Cruise's The Mummy, where it's strapped in at all corners and the plane is crashing.
Yeah, but also, like, what's the point of it going into air? I thought it just destroys all life. Does it need proximity to something, like the atmosphere? They do not clarify why that is.
That's not the dumbest part. You want to know what the dumbest part of the movie is?
I'm not even done with the dumb part of the egg.
You go ahead. Go egg it up.
Why does the egg, like, when it's in the box crate thing, why does it have a metal face that looks like it's cast out of iron?
I kept thinking they were going to explain that, and then they didn't ever.
Like, does it serve a religious purpose? Is that the face of God that he saw, that he is making a mockery of? Like, what's going on, Chitwell? Also, what's the deal with all these toys that you keep handing people and being like, is this yours? And firing bullets at them. Like, what's the deal? There's so many things. Like, who built the egg? Why is it just an egg? Why is it just a metal egg with some curvy bits on it? Why does it need to be put in if you just had the egg and not the briefcase, could you still fire it? Or does it have to be in the crate briefcase thing? And why does it have to be in the air? And what are all these other people flying the plane thinking? Are they thinking he's just crazy? And it's like, that thing's not going to work. It's just like he's holding a Nerf gun.
Yeah, it's like we're gonna build a rocket for the flat earthers so they can prove it's flat. We'll take your money.
Yeah, like I think that has to be what it is. Like his money's good.
So that is dumb. The dumbest part is that in two separate points in the movie, they establish that when you live long enough, and I like this concept as an idea, that when you live long enough, you start to understand the universe in a fundamental way and start to basically ascend, and
I forgot about this.
You gain superpowers.
Oh yeah, because
But they show two times as Dylan O'Brien and Mark Wahlberg him using his powers. I don't know what he was doing either time. I don't know how it changed. All I know is before he made a jump that maybe he couldn't have before, but he doesn't like float or have a cool moment where he's clearly flying or where he can see the potential futures or anything. And Mark Wahlberg, his whole thing, I was like, oh, he's gonna let go and he's gonna fly alongside the plane.
That would've been
right?
amazing.
I was screaming,
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg, use the force, fly at the TV screen.
yeah,
he
because
just
he's on the surface of the plane
as it's flying,
like on the roof.
and he stands up, pulls his katana out of the wing that he used because he was like, Tom Cruise uses fingers, I use a katana, pow! And then he just puts his hand out, some like Natalie Portman's Annihilation special effect garbage goes on around his hand, and then he just opens a hatch and goes in. It didn't do anything. So why include a subplot that you reference for
Okay.
less than a minute about powers and then show no one with superpowers and then not establish what they actually
All right,
do?
here's my theory for the movie, and I think it makes a lot of sense.
I have a theory as well. I'm very
Mark
curious.
Wahlberg is just crazy.
I like that theory.
Everyone he meets is like, you're an infinite, entirely in his head.
Oh, in the movie, he's insane.
Yes.
I thought you were implying that the actor Mark Wahlberg is insane.
No. So, like,
Well, we don't know.
literally, the whole, like, he saw an action movie where a guy was doing, like, katana stuff and fighting. He's like, that was me in a previous life. Like, dude, that's a Tom Cruise movie. And it's like, that's why it looks like a much better movie than what he thinks the world
Here's
is.
the thing.
And-
There's a lot of movies that could just be the past lives of Mark Wahlberg in the Infinite movie universe.
John Wick.
John Wick could reincarnate. Honestly, if they'd gone with the John Wick aesthetic where it's kind of heightened, but it doesn't look ridiculous. Like at one point, I think his name is Toby Jones, the big-headed guy who played Arnim Zola. He's just like, look at this. And he just goes to a table, and then suddenly a hologram pops up.
Yeah, and I distinctly remember all our responses was, oh, I guess there are holograms in this world.
This is the only movie I've ever seen, and I can't tell if this is a credit or a negative, where I genuinely could not predict when this scene ends what the camera will cut to next.
Yeah.
At one point,
I think you could cut in...
Chitwell Ejiofor says, yes, I like using crossbows to torture people. And it's like, there are new ways, like better ways to do that. It's like, newer, yes, but not better. I prefer the old ways. And then, 30 minutes later, he hops into VR and uses an army of drones to hunt a character whose name I couldn't tell you if you had a gun to my head asking me which of these items were mine, because I don't remember her name at all. Nancy?
I don't remember any of these characters.
I remember that
And
one
also
of
there's
them...
a Russian guy who just hates Mark Wahlberg for some reason, despite the fact they're supposed to be friends.
I don't know if he hates him. That's the thing. He had no personality.
And-
He gave me the only impression I got about the character of Dylan
I think he was
O'Brien.
supposed to be mad because it's like he doesn't remember who he is. He's not the leader we had.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
but then if you saw if Optimus Prime reincarnated,
He did in
and-
the movies, like twice.
and then he was back to being Orion Pax for a bit, and
No
then
one would be
good-
like, I
good
hate
deep
you
cut,
for
by the
being
way.
normal.
that's who he was for his Optimus Prime.
Yeah, but not everyone knows that.
And then I don't think Bumblebee or like Ironhide would have been like, that's not Optimus Prime. It's like, yeah, but it is though. All we have to do is just like bring him back. He just had some head trauma. I feel like you have been like, oh yeah, friend, he died.
But yeah, the best acting in the whole movie was when the Professor X, which I assume that's kind of the angle they went with, they intentionally hired a disabled woman.
Who is it? Oh, she is a Professor X. She's always in a
Yeah,
wheelchair.
she's in a wheelchair and she's guiding them to
But
enlightenment.
But she
But
looks...
if Professor X could kill himself and have his legs back, he would. I know this because he literally loses his powers in the movies to try and walk again,
Well,
becoming a junkie
and
for like 3
a
movies.
lot of in some of the comics, he can actually just levitate himself.
I don't know why he wouldn't be able to.
Yeah,
Like, he should be able to punch you with the strength of 1,000 suns, because he wills
or
his
even
hand
just
to move
have
that
like
quickly.
3 mutants carry him all the time, and he messes with your brain like, oh yeah, he's walking. Like,
Or just build a mech suit.
yeah,
That's what that universe has. That's what this universe probably has, too.
like he just has
X-Men might be set in the same universe. We
like
don't
he's
know.
just sitting in a Sentinel or something.
If Jared Leto's Morbius showed up in this movie, I would not have been surprised.
Honestly, you could cut in clips of like Ender's Game, John Wick, and
The Transformers movies
And you have
with
been-
Mark Wahlberg. Miko, you gotta stop freaking out over there.
yeah, in a previous life, he was an inventor, and he did his first flames. Gotta go outside though.
We like this pancakes.
Pow!
Now you make a Mark Wahlberg reference. Maybe Desk Pop? Maybe the other guys?
Or
a Ted reference, maybe? That's a big one.
that time that he blinded a Vietnamese man.
Oh, no, he's done worse than that.
Yeah, he was a drug dealer for a little bit.
He was just a straight-up hood rat that would beat people up and was racist, and now he's almost 60 years old and is like, wow, I was a horrible person. I've introduced the Pope at a speaking event.
That can't... What?
The Pope visited Boston, and he was like, hey, here's the Pope. He likes Jesus and Mother Mary. Hallelujah.
Hey, my mom likes Jesus.
He literally turned around in the middle of the opening speech and said, like, his sort of closing of his part of the speech was, I don't know why I'm here. And he turned to the Pope and said, I'm really sorry for making Boogie Nights. And then he said, and here's the Pope. And sat down. And then the Pope spoke in Italian.
And the Pope was all like, Arrivederci, Zolnai.
Papa John's. Spaghetti.
Little Caesar's is true pizza. And
So,
like, God has spoken?
how can he speak such words when we know them to be false?
Also, can we address the fact that the Pope in that scenario would have been the lesser religious figure next to an infinite?
We don't know that the Pope wasn't Mark Wahlberg at some point.
We don't know the Pope isn't an infinite in the infinite universe.
Or in ours.
I mean...
Let's just... Already. So, imagine the movie Wanted. That's got some ridiculous...
Yeah.
Secret society
Well,
abilities,
Assassin's Creed,
but it
was...
feels very real. Like, it feels real enough. It knows
They're
it's
real
silly
enough where you're like, there are stakes.
and it's silly enough and stylized enough that you know that like you're not supposed to take this seriously.
And also they explain, like, oh yeah, here's how, like, it started off
here's
as...
the rules.
Yeah.
Well, they establish it's like, oh yeah, these are the dumb, weird beliefs we had back in ancient times, but they kept proving to be right, so... And you kind of like, oh, okay, I guess that if the evidence is backing up what they're saying...
They have, peer-reviewed studies, I guess.
Yeah,
so.
but then in, like, the weave of time or whatever,
Yeah.
or weave of fate, but then when you compare that to this movie,
Infinite.
how would they prove that it's like, oh yeah, you had past lives, other than like, he made a... And also, this part where Mark Wahlberg's like, oh, I can't get a job. Guess I'll forge a sword. It's like,
Yeah,
that is not a cheap.
I'll just forge a weapon in this area that I guess I'm renting
And then
by
sell
hand
it to a drug dealer?
for pills for my assumed schizophrenia, and then I'm gonna chop his fingers off, and then trip balls that I'm jumping off of a mountaintop, and instead just fall onto a car, the same way that Dylan O'Brien will in an extended look at the first scene that should have just played out in its entirety to set up the stakes. Also, Rupert Fiend is in this movie, and he plays Chitwell Ejiofor in his last life, and we see his face for all of half a second, and I can't imagine they cast him for a role that small, so I'm convinced that this movie was supposed to be darker, and then they edited the bejesus out of it, because there are whole scenes from the trailers that are not in the movie. It's very David Ayer's The Suicide Squad situation.
This whole movie is just... I think you described it the best as to what type of movies this is. Like, well, Joe I-4 is getting waterboarded with gasoline in his sex church. Like, think of a movie that would allow that to be a scene, and we're saying that as a positive.
Yeah. Again, the best acting in it is when he's like, hello, former lover, why don't you kill yourself? You're a horrible cripple. And she's like, I'm not a cripple, which, by the way, I consider myself, like, I'm a pretty strong, independent guy. If I'm in a wheelchair and someone's like, you cripple, I'm like, you're a dick. Like, yeah, I know I am.
Well,
so, like, I'm
also-
not a cripple. I'm like, you are, though.
Well, no, she compares that he's the crippled one.
Yeah, emotionally. But he's also, like, mentally traumatized.
Yeah, well,
From birth.
I thought that was especially cruel on her side.
Because
Because, like,
she used to love him.
well, no, because he is actually crippled. He has a deformity that is torturing him throughout eternity.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And she's like, "You're the crippled one." Like, whoa, okay, you're crippled for like this one instance of time in your life.
You're gonna like.
I'm not the crippled one. You are. And it's like, yeah, I know I am.
The movie should have been about him defeating them. Chitwell should have been the hero.
Like, I'm tortured, but they won't let me die because they're selfish.
And then in the end, he's like, I won't kill them for my pain, but eventually they'll need this technology too, and just pops himself in the dome with the Digicoin.
Or even then, all he'd have to do is say, "By the way, we exist," shoot himself, and then
they'd be hunted and dissected.
Everyone would be hunted. I was like, hold on, you're saying that they're a secret society's controlling the world? His job would be done. They'd be hunted to extinction.
Why didn't he expose them?
Because somehow this plot is dumber than Spider-Man Far From Home.
I want to say some positives. I think the fact that the metal plate in his head actually paid off.
That's true.
Was nifty. I didn't expect that.
I mean, I have a soft spot for like samurais.
I guess you need a metal plate then.
Soft spot for samurai and katanas and stuff. So getting to see a samurai sword, as cliche as it is, was a cool detail. Again, the opening of that movie was a cooler movie.
Also, the movie was a little.
It didn't need bullet time.
Pandering to China. Like, he reincarnates as a Chinese person or Asian, and then they saw, like, in past life, you were ancient samurai. It's like, yeah,
that's Japanese.
But it's like, but also wasn't he other stuff as well? Like, why is you just hitting on the fact that he made samurai swords?
I think they just wanted an excuse to give him a katana.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I fully.
But what about, like, cowboy, Viking? Like, there has to be some layers to this.
My rule of thumb is Tom Hardy's Venom is the worst a movie can be, where I'll still be like, oh, it's on? Yeah, I'll watch that. If a movie drops in quality by even 1% below what Venom gave me, it's a bad movie. Because there's good movies. I mean, there's true cinema. Then there's good movies. Then there's everything in between that and where Venom is. And then directly below Venom is bad movies that I cannot enjoy. And then below that is where it starts looping back around to being good again, because it's so bad that it's fun to make fun of.
Okay. I don't think that part exists. Where does Hellboy?
Oh no, that's just a bad movie.
Because I don't think you can make it worse.
No, like Tremors and stuff like that. Like the pulp class, like that's so stupid.
Tremors actually has a lot of really good cinematic.
Well, it has really good special effects and stuff, but it's undoubtedly
story beats and even character.
We'll rewatch it soon. But
I will prove it to you.
I'm sure you will, big man.
That being said, I give Infinite Boston out of 10.
How many eggs out of Dylan O'Brien's small intestine do you give this?
Spoilers.
That still doesn't make sense to most people.
Yeah.
Also, I think Mark Wahlberg made a very good use of the one F-bomb a PG-13 movie is allowed, because they're like, oh, by the way, look, here's all the previous bodies from every Infinite that we just store in boxes in cold storage. He's like, you kept my fucking body? Like, yeah, it serves no purpose, but we just like keeping you guys around.
Well, it's because they want to figure out what caused it, and they think it's genetic, but Chitwell is pretty certain that it's a spiritual, like, omnipresent thing.
Also, they somehow harness spiritual powers that are vague and unclear.
Yeah,
so
and he has technology to back it up. He has a gun that stores souls.
He has a Nerf blaster that will take your soul and put it in the Matrix, which, by the way, we don't know that...
He takes from Nerf and makes nothing.
It's either Nerf or nothing.
It's Nerf to nothing. That's the Nerf's nothing is like a lie. It's Nerf to nothing.
But now we all know if you destroy a Nerf blaster, then you get everything back.
Here's my issue with
Nerf or nothing.
Well, like, imagine Infinite did go and get sequels and increased enjoyability or something throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
What stakes would you possibly write for those movies? Because they can't die, and any loss is just going to be a better luck next time. Also,
I would just make it where you're someone who's a regular person running from them. Because they can't die, so at most you're buying yourself 14 years before you have to fight them again. Also, Mark Wahlberg isn't dead.
I assume we're just.
I don't remember the character's name.
Yeah, what
was the character's name?
Evan McCulkey? Or something like that, which is not his name in the book. They changed it.
This is like Jumper and levels of what they changed.
But Jumper is good.
Except the books had like terrorism and stuff.
Yeah, but I like the movie.
The movie's not bad.
The movie is not a bad movie.
Okay, yeah, do your thing, and then we might segue into Jumper.
Jumper and Wanted are both movies
And Push.
and Push are all, well, I'm saying movies that deviated from the source material and were better because of it. You can't jump immediately into terrorism. You need a Jumper 1 before you go into the plot of Jumper, the first book. Set the stakes and then introduce
Part
the
of me
key
wants
scene.
to read the first book of Jumper.
Well, then go for
See,
it.
like, oh, was the... Because the movie was made by a guy who's like, we learned a lot from making Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Another great movie. Killed Rachel from Friends, her relationship with Brad Pitt, but gave us Brangelina, so that was inevitable.
What? They're the ones who...
Yeah, they met on making the movie, and then they're like, by the way, I'm no longer dating you. So you were saying, Sam? Because you're like, oh, so we're just spoiling it, even though I said immediately when we started that spoilers are on the table because nothing about the spoilers will make this better or worse.
Well, the whole plot becomes irrelevant by the end of it because every single character is a different life now. And while
not Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah, Jason Mantzoukas is still the same person. He's just
Is he?
slightly older.
Yeah, because he's like, see you in a couple of years when you remember things. Like, I remember things now. Credits.
Yeah, see you later, kid.
And it's like, why aren't you taking him now? Why are you going to let him live making samurai swords in, I'm going to guess, Thailand?
I don't think it was clear.
I'm not saying I want a sequel. I'm just saying whatever chance they had at one, they immediately destroyed.
because they got rid of their leading
Yeah,
star
they
power.
got rid of all their cast.
Well, first of all, the
no.
only star they lost was Chitwell and Mark.
Well, yeah.
Everyone else
I guess you don't have to worry about contract disputes anymore.
was literally just like someone that you would see being like a background like literally the bearded guy has just been bad guys in movies for the most part, like just background. Like I think he was in The Equalizer as like one of the main guys that was hunting down Denzel Washington, which also this guy directed The Equalizer, which is a great movie, and I don't know how this is also from him. I'm gonna end up rewatching it with my wife because she's like, oh, it's bad. Like she wanted to watch it before because the trailer looked very cool. And again, I think that they filmed a cool-ish movie, and then the script wasn't great, and the editing made it worse, and the cast didn't provide anything for Mark Wahlberg to play off of, because The Other Guys is hands down the funniest movie I've ever seen in my life. I can rewatch that on a moment's notice.
Mm.
It is, to me, in the funny department, what I consider Interstellar as far as, like, this is peak cinema, this is peak comedy for me. That's just the thing that makes me laugh.
I would actually put Jump Street ahead of Other Guys.
It doesn't beat for me. I'm 90% certain
The
that's
old
where the
lady
idea.
sex really throws me
I'm
off.
90% certain that Vin Diesel saw The Other Guys was like, he could be Hobbs. Don't quote me on that. I mean, it's digitally recorded as though you shot me in the head with a Nerf blaster for all time.
Yeah, and Zola is there for some reason.
There's just a lot. One of you guys turned to me in the middle of watching the movie and were like, oh, what if the group that's acting like they're saving him from this bad guy are actually trying to figure out where what he said, like his nexus
Yeah, like
egg
they were
is.
the bad guy because they
And
wanted
his
to blow
best
it
friend
up.
really is like being harsh and cruel to try and wake him up quickly and save him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And
tough love.
That's an immediately better movie than what we watched.
Yeah, because I was like, oh man, I totally can predict the plot. And then I was like, nope, I expected too much from them. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think I would rather watch the first season of Batwoman again than have to rewatch this.
Well, I
And
guess
that's not true because the first season of Batwoman's longer, so this can be done faster.
I mean, Ruby Rose is in Batgirl, and that's
Funny
she's
enough,
good.
the girl who fights the other blonde, and the bad guy blonde girl, she's the actress from Krypton, and she's also the new Batwoman. She replaced Ruby Rose. She's Kate
Ah.
Kane.
So hold on, Sandra Kane and Katie Kane.
Kate Kane and Cassie Kane, not the same.
Are they
character.
related?
No. One is Asian, one's a redheaded lesbian.
Wait, so why are they the same last name?
They're spelled differently.
But what is going on? Why is name one of them Abel?
Why are Bruce and Clark's mothers both named Martha? Because people in the 40s and 50s were lazy and uncreative. Batman only stopped murdering people in the comics.
Wait. Why did you say that name?
Ha 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 ha.
Oh my goodness!
But yeah, no. The only reason that like Batman stopped murdering.
I was unconsciously tugging at my hair.
Yeah, no. You look like an insane person.
Oh.
Right? You look like you would be a character like you're Chitwell. You reincarnated. You're like that son of a. Which, by the way, they act like they solved that problem, but they digitized him with a chip, right? As he falls to his
Yeah.
death. but then when he falls, his head would have exploded, and the chip would have been destroyed. So Chitwell's alive.
Chipwell.
Nice.
How did we not see it?
But yeah, people said that this was the poor man's Matrix. But honestly, the moments where it's like, we're a secret society, the truth is out there, dodging bullets in slow motion, that was the worst parts of this.
And I'd say if you're like, hey, maybe I should watch Infinite.
You should,
What?
because it's a train wreck. Everyone should watch it once just to make fun of it. It's not like Polar, which is so bad that I would rather have a colonoscopy than watch it again.
Well, they drug you for colonoscopies.
I wish someone had drugged me for Polar.
I don't see why you
I
hate
think
it so
they
much.
were drugged for Polar.
You know what? We need to get Sam to watch it, and he can
I
be the
already
type.
have.
You've watched it?
And I think the people who made it were drugged when
I
they
think the
made
people
it.
who made it should be drawn and quartered. Publicly.
I'm saying, to get back to what I was saying, if you want to watch...
Unless they're infinites.
If you want to watch Infinite, just watch Assassin's Creed, the movie. It's better, and it's the same thing.
Yeah, Sam described this as Assassin's Creed and Altered Carbon. Apparently the goal was to make it... oh god, what did they call it? I think they said that it was supposed to be somewhere along the lines of Wanted and The Matrix.
So 2 horrible movies that they wanted to slap together because they were made by
I like
insane people.
I like Wanted.
The comic series?
No. The movie and game. In that order. Which, as we know, but I don't think many other people do know, they couldn't get James McAvoy for the video game, so they instead got esteemed actual actor Jimmy Simpson to do a James McAvoy's American accent impersonation for the Wanted video game.
Jimmy Simpson being the main character in Westworld.
Yeah, and many, many other things. So, I said this before, I think because the whole cast was so bland, you needed a crazy person to play Evan McCullough, the infinite main character, instead of Mark Wahlberg, who played him sort of straight-laced. I think they should have had Tom Hardy's manic performance from Venom, and had Tom Hardy be the infinite, who's like, that's crazy, I talk so weird, why does my voice sound like that? And then had Mark Wahlberg be Eddie Brock, who's like, yeah, whatever, I lied to my girlfriend, I got a symbiote in my butt.
I'm totally gonna ruin
These
relationship.
are your first webs, you gotta do it outside.
And also, like, I'm gonna ruin my girlfriend's relationship.
Yeah, and potentially put her career at risk.
Yeah, I'm gonna ruin that, even though her fiance Dan seems like a real nice
Yeah,
guy.
no, she deserves to
Which
be with
also,
Dan. They're
what
happy
is
together.
with Dan being the fiance that the protagonists don't like?
When has that ever been a thing?
San Andreas, I think it was, where it's like the
Oh,
Rock.
where Mr. Fantastic from the good Fantastic Four movies
he plays
got
a character
brute-
named Daniel, who is
That
the
movie
current
is hilarious.
boyfriend of the protagonist of the. And it's just like there's so many things where I'm just like, why Daniels? Come on, I take offense to that. Can we not get a Daniel who's maybe not a piece of crap? At least Venom Daniel was a gold
Yeah,
star.
he's a stand-up guy.
Can we-
You'd be lucky to grow up to be a Daniel like that.
Oh yeah, I know that. Not a Daniel Craig, because I don't know. It
You
seems
could
like
be married to Rachel Weisz and be in a bad Marvel movie. Black Widow. She's in Black Widow.
Oh, Miko, why are you growling
Also,
at Dee Dee?
the trailer spoiled something about her character. Like, not even a trailer. Like, hey, here's a clip that's not interesting, but shows this character in a situation that they should not be in unless you want to know how the story goes. I'm like, well, I don't need to see your movie. You've given me some of your plot twists.
Now I'm curious.
I don't want to... Sam, plug your ears.
So-
But now she's Abomination.
Yeah.
Ha, I got you. She's Red Hulk. Miko, you sound like a constant
Which also-
fart.
yeah, it's Kurt. Like,
I may not even be able to use the last 10 minutes because of Miko's tantric whining. I would say that this is a bad movie that borders on being so bad that it's funny to make fun of, but with the caveat that there are a lot of bad movies that I can rewatch and riff on constantly. This one I don't really want to watch ever again.
For me, it was just meh. It set up some interesting ideas, but never really executed or capitalized on any of them.
It wasn't grounded
Which is-
enough to be
Yeah.
fun and realistic, and it wasn't crazy enough to be turn your brain off and enjoy it.
yeah. There was a part in the movie where I was like, I hope the egg goes off and blows up everything. I don't want to.
I think this movie would have done better if the Fast and Furious people
Also-
were making it.
What would you call the sequel? Infinite 2?
Eternity.
Or have the Eternals? I feel like that's confusing.
No
They
one's gonna
don't
care about
care.
that movie.
Yeah, that movie's gonna suck because they got.
I wanted to do good because of Buff Kumail, but they're
Yeah,
like,
they got Kumail and they relegated him to like 1 out of like 11.
Yeah, and he gets like, oh look, he has a Bollywood dance number. I'm like, that's stereotypical and not very interesting.
Also, he's Pakistani.
Yeah, I know. He's not Indian.
It's,
I mean, he might have some of that in him as well. I mean, could be, multi-ethnic.
and also, like, Kumail should have been...
The main character of literally any franchise. He could have been the main character of this, and I would have liked it more.
No, let him, like, still be an Eternal, but have him show up on Guardians of the Galaxy. Imagine him
great.
improving...
Also, which is stronger, an Eternal or, like, a Norse god?
Eternal, I would think.
So which is stronger between those two?
Eternals...
An Eternal or Thanos?
Well, the Eternals, aren't they supposed to be Celestials?
No, Celestials are like their grandparents, and they got diluted out generations or something.
I feel like they still got to be pretty powerful.
Okay, well, here's my question. Between whoever's strongest of all of them, who's stronger, them or Owen Wilson with a mustache?
We
Owen
haven't
Wilson.
seen Loki, but...
I've
Wait,
seen...
isn't his character named Ozymandias or something?
No, it's Morbius.
That's
Not
equally confusing.
No, Mobius, not to be confused with Morbius, which I just did. And I actually know both of those characters.
Oh, Mobius, because it's like time related,
Yeah.
right? Because Mobius strip, it's the infinite thing that
Yes.
Tony Stark used
Hey,
for the back in
Infinite.
time.
Yeah, Mobius
Infinite.
would have been a
Oh,
good name for the main character of the...
Infinite, we went back to it.
I think
Circle
it's safe
back
to say
around.
that Chris Evans dodged a mind-chipping Nerf blaster bullet to the head when he decided to work for Apple Plus instead of Paramount Plus. Anyway, tune in next time when we talk about the coolest superpowers in the MCU or whatever we're going to do.
Or we talk about, I don't know... Oh, also, so we can just knock out 2 birds, 1 stone. We have like 4 minutes left in the podcast.
No, we're not. I'm not even going to use half the stuff we already said.
Oh. The movie and the show Invincible. It's good. There, knocked out the Invincible
Poor review.
podcast.
Thanks for listening. Don't vape. I don't know.
We'll see you next time on the Poppycock podcast. Stay fresh, my boo.